Let's get going here with a quick start for, we're going to take a look at Twinmotion for architectural visualization. So I'm going to go into an introduction as to what Twinmotion is for those of you that are not familiar with Twinmotion, what it's built for, who it caters to, and what you can accomplish with it. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides here with some details, important details around Twinmotion and how we work with data, and then I'm going to dive live into Twinmotion and do a quick overview of how that works with assets in Twinmotion. So what is Twinmotion? Well, really simply, Twinmotion is a very powerful visualization tool. It's very quick and easy to use, and that is really the second key feature to it. Very powerful visualization tool, but it is super quick and easy for people to jump in and create really powerful visualizations with it. In there, we can create super high quality imagery, videos, panoramic imagery as well, complete panos that you can output for a variety of different purposes, virtual reality, in the scene in Twinmotion or built out to be able to use as an experience. And on that note, standalone applications there as well. So we have many different industries that this caters towards, namely within the professional space of architecture, engineering, construction, urban planning, and landscaping professionals as well. So the philosophy behind Twinmotion is really, at the core of it, is to remove the complexity, keep it as simple as possible. The idea to rapidly bring to life any architectural project or any data that you bring into Twinmotion for that reason as well. So the nice thing about Twinmotion is that I mentioned this quick and easy ability to jump in and be able to build things, very small learning curve, and that is at the crux of what Twinmotion's about. You know, we work with a lot of people within the Unreal Engine environment. We work with a lot of people that are in that architectural space, that are engineering, construction, whatever it may be, that just outright don't really want to or have the time to learn a real-time engine development platform. They want something they can dive into with their CAD data and get results immediately. And that's where Twinmotion really comes from. It's really quick and easy to jump in and very rapidly learn what it is you need to do to be successful with what you want to do with Twinmotion. So who's Twinmotion for? Well, we can break it down to two basic areas here, the non-technical and the technical. So as I mentioned, we do have some people that maybe aren't that technically savvy with things like the complexities of diving deep into Unreal Engine or other packages, whatever it may be. They want to be able to just dive in and quickly produce compelling content. But as well, the other second part is the technical individual, and that might be to do a quick prototype, build out some path animation studies, maybe some simple character path animation studies, or to build some lighting studies, weather studies, climate studies around an architectural project as an example. So Twinmotion, it's this idea of click and go, and you're going to see when we dive into Twinmotion Live here, we work in this idea of drag and drop and click and go and create content very rapidly. It's really nice to be able to work in context to what you're working with your data from wherever that came from. So it's very quick and flexible data input. We have the ability to import data. We also have the ability, I'm going to flash over here in a minute to show you some of the plugins that we have available for Twinmotion now, and that plugin library is growing all the time. We're adding more as time goes on. We have a nice robust library of assets, models, materials, vegetation library, all of these things that are there in Twinmotion 2019 and things that we're going to be growing over time as well. This idea to create animations by simply one click and drawing out paths, and that might be animations of people, might be animations of vehicles, whatever it may be, to be able to quickly populate a scene. So it's really simple and easy to draw paths. I'll show you that live here in a moment as well. The other really cool thing about Twinmotion is that we can build things in context to the actual geolocation on the planet. So we can actually go in and geolocate where we should be so that we get the proper weather, climate, sun position, whatever it may be. And I'll show really quickly how we work with that as well. We can actually identify a place on the globe and be able to use that to populate a scene to bring all of that, that necessary geo-accurate data into as we work. And as I mentioned, it's this drag and drop workflow. So Twinmotion, one asset, many uses, right? Bring your data in and be able to create amazing things, whether it's still imagery or an interactive experience, a standalone application, an immersive experience, maybe something you want to dive into in VR. And as well, we can create beautiful videos, really high-resolution videos live right out of Twinmotion as well. I'll show some samples of those in a minute too. So this is kind of an interesting thing, this 2-click workflow from CAD to VR in 2 clicks, and it really literally is that. Have your CAD data, jump into Twinmotion, click virtual reality with your virtual reality setup, and experience that data. Very simple and easy way to work, and on that note, I'm gonna hop over here and just show you on our Unreal Engine page, if you are new to Twinmotion and you're a Revit user, or maybe you're using SketchUp or ArchiCAD, whatever it may be, right now we have direct links. And what these are is that you can install this with your Revit workflow as an example, and you have a Twinmotion tab within Revit where you can go and send your data directly over to Twinmotion and work back and forth in that workflow there so that everything you're doing in Revit you can bring over to Twinmotion and start visualizing in a very beautiful and compelling way to build out whatever it is you're trying to accomplish there. So this is on the Unreal Engine page. You simply go to unrealengine.com, and just to point out here, underneath Enterprise is the Twinmotion section there. And you'll find underneath that Twinmotion section there our plugin link, but as well, just to go back, we have a whole bunch of really awesome things in there. We're always adding case studies with a bunch of our different people out in the community building amazing things. Individual users, big firms doing amazing things, all sorts of different people putting together some interesting content. So if you haven't been to the Twinmotion page, definitely take a look at that. We're always adding new things and new resources there, and as I mentioned, that's where the plugins for Revit and things like SketchUp and ArchiCAD live as well. So back to our deck here. What I'm going to do is jump into Twinmotion and show something like this. This is a nice sped up video here from our friends over at Happy Mushroom that were generous enough to let us show some of their content that they're using Twinmotion for. And this is Twinmotion in a really nice, simple way to showcase what it is. Dragging and dropping assets, populating a scene with existing data from whatever CAD package you may be working with. I pointed out things like ArchiCAD, Revit, SketchUp. It doesn't have to be, you're not limited to that data. Anywhere your CAD data is coming from. We also support the obvious ones, FBX, OBJ, Cinema 4D, I could go on. Build your data wherever you want to build it and bring it into Twinmotion. So some samples here from some of our people out there in the community. Creating beautiful visuals like this, outputting a simple fly-through with a camera is very easy to do in Twinmotion, and we can work with that live in context as we're building and creating. Very easy to build visualizations like that or put out some still imagery as well. Here we have some nice work done by Scenario Architects. We just did a case study on them that just went live last week as well up on the Twinmotion blog. You should check that out to see what they're doing with Twinmotion. They're building they're big environments, but they're also getting inside and building some micro environments like this. Twinmotion isn't just for massive, large data sets. It can be for diving in and building, a single house or a single dwelling to experience that design as well. And speaking of bigger environments, here's a city environment. Bringing in data into Twinmotion is very easy and quick to be able to bring that in and very rapidly populate it with simple things like city items, props, vehicles, crowds of people, different types of vegetation, things that we might find in an urban environment to really quickly tell that story of that design. Here's some more interior work that we have as a sample there within Twinmotion. Lots of really interesting things to be able to build some simple lighting studies and be able to convey or demonstrate your design very quickly. So we have a lot of people out there doing some amazing things. And on that, I wanted to just highlight one of the things that's really cool within the Twinmotion community is that we have these Twinmotion community challenges. And we're running these regularly. You should check these out. What we do is we give a theme, and the only thing we ask you to do is make it in Twinmotion and leave it in Twinmotion. Make it, create the image, no post-processing allowed, raw right out of Twinmotion. So everything you're seeing here are from individual users out there creating their own content live right out of Twinmotion. So some beautiful imagery that came out of here, all sorts of different things in different contexts. With Twinmotion, you're not just, of course, limited to city, big urban environments. We have a nice way of working with different water effects, different vegetation scenes, whatever the theme may be, so that you're able to create beautiful imagery like this. And in this particular challenge, our winner was right here. Jawad Tariq created this beautiful image, live right in Twinmotion there, no post-processing. What you see is right out of Twinmotion. And that's the thing that we ask you to do is don't post-process it, produce it right out of Twinmotion, and bring it live to that contest. So Twinmotion, some of the things that we get with this natively right out of Twinmotion and creating some compelling imagery, beautiful reflections, soft area shadowing, translucency, ambient occlusion. We work with real-world lighting, so a skylight type of system, global illumination. You get things like image-based lighting that we can work with. As I mentioned, global illumination there. And this slide here, actually, what is interesting is just a comparison side by side. So an offline rendering solution, a typical ray tracing software, a lot of amazing ray tracing software packages out there, and I certainly don't want to be negative or poo-poo on them there, but the difference here, left and right, we have a ray tracing software package, 1 hour and 29 minutes, a 2K render, and on the right-hand side, a 4K render right out of Twinmotion, right there in the viewport as you're working in context with it, 0.2 seconds. So the major difference that we're working with here is that cost effectiveness, that ability to convey your message effectively and communicate that with a client rapidly is hugely important. And any corrections that you want to make at that time, you're making live in Twinmotion. You're not waiting another hour and a half to get half the resolution of what that one was, or at that point there, 2K versus 4K for the image. So before I jump into the live thing, important to point out there's multiple ways to learn. We're building a bunch of online content around Twinmotion. My colleague Chris Murray over there that runs the online learning academy on our unrealengine.com site, we actually have a really robust learning library available there, and we actually have some new Twinmotion content coming out soon. You can learn in class at events that we host as well. Last week we just had an amazing event, Unreal Academy in London, England. We have them, we're starting to do more of events like this around. We had one in Raleigh back in June. But we also have training centers as well that are up and running. So we're going to jump into Twinmotion over here, and I'm just going to show very quickly how we can work with some of this data. Just hop over to a scene that I have in here, and I'm just going to give a quick walkthrough as to what we're looking at here in Twinmotion. The typical UI that you're going to be welcome with might be something like this. It could even be a full screen, but this is the basic thing that we're going to see typically when we come into Twinmotion. A lot of the things that we're familiar with, we have a menu bar on the top. Of course, if you want to work in a pro sense, we can hide all of this away and just have the full visual beauty of Twinmotion filling up the screen as we work. But here are the basics. On the side, left and right, we have these kind of input arrows. And this is where we're going to work with our libraries of assets. I'm going to start working with those libraries of assets here in a moment. But another thing that we have, so we have that on the left, our library of assets as we work with those. And then on the right, what you might be used to in kind of a scene hierarchy or an object list type of perspective here. So, any CAD data that we bring into the scene, we can stack up here into this scene graph and be able to stack this up into whatever category that may be. I have some audio in this scene. There's a bunch of different assets that came from my CAD package for building this. We have a bunch of different effects, lighting effects. There's a fog effect going on in here. A bunch of different things categorized in ways that we're mostly familiar with from other CAD packages as well. So it's very easy to get organized and be able to jump in and find assets that you're looking for in there. And of course, like most other things, we have a way to organize that or search or bring it right down to a specific type of element we're trying to find. And that's the crux of where things live on the left and the right. But on the bottom is how we work with some of that data and the ways that we might want to be able to create things like animation paths or be able to import additional data here. So I can go to my import tab here, or I could also go up to file import, what we're also used to in most packages as well. So if I go to import, I'm just going to click open, and really quickly here, here's a bunch of the different file formats that we typically see in there. I've mentioned a few of them there. We work with Revit, the Direct Link plugin, ArchiCAD, SketchUp, and of course natively we have in here as well FBX, OBJ, Cinema 4D. There's a whole pile of supported formats down below. So pretty much any package that you're working with, there's a format you could definitely bring over to Twinmotion very easily as well. So let's go back into here and take a look. So let's actually start to populate up the scene, and we'll come down here to take a look at some of the basics of these things here. So this data here, I could bring that in with Revit with the direct link, the one click, and bring it over into Twinmotion, or as I said, I could have exported it from wherever and import it in and start to put some materials on this. And the way that we typically work with things like this, if I want to change materials, we support existing materials from other packages, existing textures as well. So if you want to keep those, you can certainly keep those and work with them. But we also have ways to maybe change the material on things. So maybe we do something in here like put some sort of a bit of a stylized brick on here. And I'm just literally dragging and dropping that onto that wall. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so we can see what I'm getting on there. And then what we have down below are all of the different parameters associated with that material. So we're not stuck with what the material library is showing me here on these thumbnail samples. We can customize that. I can change the color of that material if I like the style of that brick to whatever color I want. I can adjust things like how our reflection is going to work. And the way that Twinmotion works is we have these slider bars that we can bring in a vertical sense, but we also have a numerical percentage you can type in manually in there if you want. I'm just going to leave it at that. Another important thing, though, is that we were able to scale this. So things like flooring, brick, whatever it may be, anything that's tileable, we can go in and we can adjust the scale on that. If we wanted that stone to be massive, for example, we could simply very easily adjust that. So I'm going to leave that there and just zoom out and really quickly move. I'm going to just spend some time going very quickly through all the different areas on here. I'm going to come out of the materials, and I'm going to take a look at another area within the library here. So some vegetation. You see that I have lots of trees going on in this environment. I have a nice river running through there, and I should actually point that out here. Let's take a peek. We have lots of water materials down in here. So we can actually get things like ponds, rivers, lakes, oceans. We have data sets sitting on ocean fronts that are running with water. Inside that space, actually, you can see some movement. We're getting some internal reflection there as well. There's actually a waterfall feature inside that little dwelling there that we can do a bunch of interesting things with. So I'm going to move back right out of here, and I'm going to go into the vegetation area and start to place maybe a couple of trees into the space. So most of these trees are going to give a visual cue as to the typical size of the species of tree that we're working with to a typical average height human in here. So I might just go through and maybe we're going to add this hookthorn tree. And you see that I'm just dragging that into the environment. I'll rotate that around and maybe I'll move it something like this over into here. And if I wanted that to be a different size, maybe I need this to be a little smaller, or maybe I want it to be huge. Let's leave it somewhere in between here. I'm going to leave it like that. And then, of course, we can start adding many different trees in here. I can come to other things here, like maybe we need some shrubs, right? So I can start to place some different shrubbery in there as well. So let's take a look down here a bit. What I'm actually going to do is come out and do something as well here. I can grab some grass and flowers in here. Maybe we want to put in a different kind of grass that I want to work with here. I could populate this kind of palette area down below here. So places that I want to add, maybe I want some grass mixed with some different types of ground or mossy rocks or gravel or maybe flowers or whatever it may be. I'll take this grass right here, and you can see this brush that I have. I'll leave it probably around that size. That's probably fine. And I could just start to paint that grass into that area in there very quickly. I can change that up. Maybe we want some forest ground. That's maybe a little bit too big. So let's move that down a little bit. I can start to paint in some different kinds of grasses in there. I can work with the overall scale on what I've painted in there as well. I can work with the opacity of this, so that in that sense, as you're painting, you can get a bit of a blending effect going on with the different things that we're placing around in the scene. So we can really quickly populate everything with that as well. So I showed some of the vegetation library in there. Just to go over that really quickly there, we have a pretty robust library of trees, different species of trees. There's a bunch of really exciting things going on. If you stick around later, or you come by and you see my colleague Martin, when he speaks about 2020, what's coming in the next version of Twinmotion, a lot of really exciting things going on there that tie into some of our recent announcements as well. If you're familiar with Quixel and our announcement last week of acquiring Quixel with some very realistic photo-based scanning of vegetation. It goes on and on, actually. It's not just vegetation. There's a bunch of things that they've built that we've acquired, and we've got some pretty exciting plans with what they're doing there. So we bring here into Twinmotion a library of all these different assets, right? If I wanted to maybe stick some rock formations down in here, very easy to do that. Maybe I want to put some boulders down in here. I create a bit of a rock garden or something like that. And I can adjust these, move them around, change them around. If I hold my shift key as well, I can duplicate that or instance or copy it, define how I want that to be, and be able to move that into my space and quickly build up something in there. Okay, so I'm getting low on time here, so let me move on to some of the other cool things that we can do here in Twinmotion as well. So you saw me dragging and dropping some vegetation in there. Of course, there's different things like props. You know, if we had some city props in here, maybe we want to put something like a fountain outside here. I don't know, just drag that in. So this library of props that comes with Twinmotion, there's a lot of amazing things in here, all different kind of urban environment things. If we come out and we go back to the home, you know, we have all these different things like living room furniture, electronic appliances in here. Here's a bunch of different, you know, just for fun, let's throw a sofa around here, right? Just stick it over here. Stick it in the grass or maybe up on this little patio here, why not? We have all different types of furniture that we can bring in, electronics. What I'm gonna do now though is actually start to populate this, you know, kind of bring things to life a little bit more and add some characters to this. And the way that we can do that is if we go to our character folder, you can see that we have humans, we even have animals. You know, let's add in, you know, the grass is a little bit long over here. Maybe we throw a cow in there and let the cow start to do what the cow does. So we can add in animals. We can add in things like ambient birds flying throughout our scene there as well. We have a bunch of different things down here. Ambient fish within the water. I could throw in some different birds, animals moving around in the scene. Let's look at some humans here though. I should point out before I place some humans, we have cutout humans as well. And what that is that a lot of people may just want to prefer to have a still static rendition or version of a human populating an architectural rendering. So we have a library of different cutout humans that can fit that, that as well. I'm going to go into my human directory here, and what I can do with this is I can simply grab someone here. I'm going to grab this guy, and I can just place him in the scene. He's checking out what the cow's doing over there, and he has an ambient animation on him there. So there he is, he's checking it out. He's having a good time watching what the cow's up to. But if I want to add some more compelling animation to this to bring the scene to life, there's a couple of interesting things that I can do here. So one of the things that I'm going to do is go into this kind of urban setting here, this little city icon, and go into paths, and I'm going to create a character path on here. So I open this up and you look at this and there's nothing in there. Well, that's the simplicity, the beauty of this. I'm just going to use that little pen nib right there, and I'm going to start to draw a path, and I'm going to define what my characters, who they are, and how I want them to behave, and how many of them I want them there to be in that environment. So perhaps I come over here, I grab my little pen nib, and I'm just going to start drawing right from here. So I'm going to click. Oop, I need to press G. That's one of those things we want to remember with Unreal and with Twinmotion. G is our game mode. So if we press G, it brings on all of our other little elements, lights or effects that we have, these paths. So if I press G again, I'm hiding them away. So I'm going to leave that on for while I'm drawing this. Make a little step down there, and maybe bring this character or characters to come across this bridge here. And I don't know, maybe they go off for a nice little hike into the forest here. So I'll just leave it into there like that. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to right click and finish that. And we can see that we now have people that are going to start to walk along that path there. So what I want to do is I can define here, so right now in our library, we have a variety of different cultures of people that we can place within the scene, but we can also define the type of clothing that they're wearing. Maybe they're wearing office clothing, or maybe they're at the beach. Maybe they're you know, some casual travel wear that they have on in here as well. Now, a couple of the other things I can do is I can define the density of that. So right now we have one individual walking along here. Maybe we want just a lot of people following that path as they're going along. The creepy thing about what I'm building live in front of you is where are these people coming from and where are they going to? I don't know, that's the mystery of it, right? But the interesting thing is if I make the width of the path a little bit wider on here and I keep that density up, we get the level of creepiness aside with the crowds elevates, right? So where are they coming from, where are they going to? I'll leave that one up to you. But anyways, what I can do in my scene as I work with this, if I hit that G key to just see what and hit escape so I'm not selecting anything, now we can see these people in context here. I need to move my boulders out of the way. They're going through the boulders. But the only normal guy in the scene, in my opinion right now, is the dude checking out the cow. But that's a whole other thing there. So what we're going to do right now is very quickly just jump back into what we can do with this. If I built something that I wanted to showcase to the client, whatever this scenario is that I've built here live, we can do a bunch of things here. We can come down to our output tab, and I can build high-resolution imagery. I could build a very simple and quick edit of a video that I want to output. Maybe I need to output a 4K video. We can actually output live out of Twinmotion here an 8K video that you can send off there as well. BIM Motion is our ability to build out a standalone application. So if you want this to be an app, an interactable app that you want to share with your clients, we can very quickly build that into an executable, and you can share that with your client and have them play on that. So we have that working on the Windows platform, on the Mac platform as well. Panoramas, I mentioned in my slideshow at the beginning, the ability to work with panorama imagery live here out of Twinmotion as well. So I'm going to end it right there. Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm going to be around over here.